All right, so this Ben with Studio on the Lake. Here's an unusual one. Jordy put in a comment, "Hey, Ben, would you carve a spirit bird?" My initial response to that was, man, I don't know how to do that. Then I got to thinking about it, and I came up with two designs, and I've got a couple more now, but here's one, and I think this is one I'm going to go with, and I had one on the backside there. But I'm thinking just a head and part of a body inside, and then you're not going to see the whole bird coming out of it. And we're going to use cottonwood. We're going to use some of that cottonwood that Jordy sent me. And so this is a concept piece, and I'll explain as I go along what I mean by a concept piece. And this one got a little further along than most concept pieces were. So I thought I wanted a bird head in there on the first one. And then this one I'm kind of intrigued by too, although this would be a standalone bird with its wings up. And unfortunately, the more I got to looking at it, thinking about it, it kind of looks like a phoenix. Well, not the way I drew it on this. I got his head, back of his head face to you, and then the wings up. But that's intriguing too, and I may do one of these when I get back from Iowa in a week or so, 10 days or so. But right now I'm sitting down in Iowa and finishing up the editing on this, and this thing doesn't go all the way through. But here's a chunk of cottonwood that's that Jordy sent me, and Jordy actually drew that guy on there. When we send them through the mail, we'll draw on these things, and at that point it's art. It's no longer just a piece of wood, and customs people can't get crazy on us. But I hated to use this big piece, but I was thinking I could get a bird out of the center of here, but I didn't want to ruin that piece by experimenting. I looked at some of these other pieces, and I just couldn't see where I could get it out of there. And then as I'm looking at them, I'm thinking these would be much better with towers and houses and spires and all kinds of stuff in there. So I took a piece that is a cutoff of one that I used for a birdhouse that was on Etsy that sold just around Christmas time. So I was just gonna, the intent was to do a proof of concept, more or less. I wanted to see how it would look like, and I kind of tilted the head to the side, and I wish I'd have moved it more to the front. But that's what this is going to be about. And then as this goes along a little bit, and I start to get the beak and the head out of there, and there's nothing harder to carve than a 3/4 view of something. It's easy if you can look at it from straight on. It's easy if you can look at it from the left or right side. But when you turn it 3/4, which this is, then it gets to be problematic. And I was thinking just a head, part of a body, and then the feathers flowing out. And this one I don't go quite as far as the feathers, but I went a lot further than I really intended to, and I'll explain as I go along. So it's a cut-saw bit in there. It's a medium. Seems to work fine on this, and I'm just going to shape the head down. So now that I've done one of these, Jordy over at Carving Fusion, this was for you. And then, hey, Just Carve Rob, all you guys have to work up some concepts, kind of like we did with the spirit fish. And the rest of you guys down below, Mark the Maker, and all you other knuckleheads that are down there carving, see if you can come up with a spirit bird, and let's see what everybody can come up with. It's kind of unusual. And like I said, my initial thoughts to Jordy were, oh man, I can't do that. I have no idea how to go about doing that. And like a lot of projects, the more you start thinking about it, the easier it becomes to figure it out. So you'll see my crooked line in the middle, and like I said, a 3/4 head is difficult to do. It's probably the hardest thing that you'll do, especially when you can't get around behind it. But I kind of wanted the left side of this bird to fade away up into feathers, and then kind of an indent on the right side, so he'll be set down a little bit in there, and the feathers coming up. And so I'm just putting the reference lines in, trying to work the 3/4 view. And hey, Calvin Carves, you need to take a piece of that basswood, or not basswood. I wouldn't do it in basswood. That's too much of a pain in the butt. Take a piece of that cottonwood bark that Jordy sent you, and you need to build a spirit bird too. So we can't leave you out of this. So Jordy, Just Carve Rob, Mark the Maker, anybody else that wants to, that's a carver that wants to get in this, do a video or do a bird, spirit bird, and probably stick with cottonwood on it, and let the rest of us know. We'll stick them all together. How's that? Just to have a little fun. Because I said I was going to do carousel animals this year and birds this year, and with an occasional weird thing in there. Well, this qualifies as one of those strange things in the center. So about this time, I'm starting to think that, hey, I might be able to get this bird out of there and not ruin a big chunk of cottonwood bark. Because one of the worst things in the world, if you're a woodworker, as a lot of you that are woodworkers know, whether you're a cabinet builder or what, you've got a beautiful piece of wood, be it cherry, walnut, something, and it'll sit in your shop for 4 or 5 years until you find the exact project to use it, and you just don't want to get into it. Well, a lot of this I want to keep calling it basswood. A lot of this cottonwood bark, that's the way it is for me. And I look at it and think, man, that's too nice a piece to do anything with. You got to have something really spectacular. So I started it as a proof of concept to see if I could pull it off before I rode the big piece. And now I'm not 100% sure that I'll even do the big piece. I might change things around a little bit because this came out a little more detailed than I intended to do. So I'm kind of liking him now. And I don't think anybody's ever heard of a spirit bird. Or a spirit fish, or a spirit frog, or any of the above. We all are familiar with the old man spirits. That is not a cuts-all bit in there. It's a 3/32, and it's a saber bit, which I like to use in the smaller diameter. And you can see that I'm undercutting the right side of that head. And I'm kind of trying to make it look like it's coming out of the wood on the left side. And here's that 3/4, trying to figure out what the heck to do with how to get the beard or the beak in there. I think I told everybody in the sparrow, number 2 of the sparrow video, that the next thing I was going to do is probably a ruddy duck or a black duck. And a black duck is just it's a mallard for all practical purposes. The body shape, the beak, the feathering, everything is the same. It's just the coloring that changes on that. And a black duck should work out really well. I think I can get away with just sticking with the style of the burning and not painting. Now, of course, if I decide to do the ruddy duck, which are one of my favorites to do, that will, of course, get painted. So I just continue to work this down. I've got a ruby bit in there now, and I'm kind of sanding and working on the beak to see if I can get where I want to be. I'm really kind of pleased with it. I wish I had stuck with my drawing on the head and turned it at a little different angle, but I didn't when I drew it out there. So I thought, well, let's put an eye in this and see if it comes to life. Well, the brown eye didn't work for me. And this part's interesting here. So I've got some eyes, and that one, if you notice, it has no color in it. So if you're looking for a particular color, these are clear eyes. They come from Tohican. And if you paint the back of that, or even put a magic marker on the back of that, it'll take that color and read through the eye. So you can get a color of an eye that you want. I thought this might be kind of interesting just to leave it white, seeming as how this is kind of a spirit or a ghost bird. And I didn't put any color behind it. My initial thoughts were red would be good. And I didn't have any red eyes this size. I need to get an order into Tohican and order another 30 or 40 eyes so that I stick them in the box and have them ready to go. But I kind of like the fact that it's got no color in it. It's devoid of color. It is picking up that epoxy, the quickwood, but I can live with that. So you'll notice on the pattern that I had his head turned more to the front rather than a 3/4 view. And I wish I'd done that. Well, I did the 3/4 view to the right side on that. And something I noticed at this point right here, I kind of thought I might be done, because the only part I was really concerned about getting out of the cottonwood to see if I could pull off would be the head. And if you mess up the head in the middle, of course, you've ruined one big chunk of cottonwood. But looking at this, I noticed that I had almost the exact same size of what I drew there. And all I needed to do, and I had a little bit of room around the edge of this, so I could go ahead and put in the feather flares, or at least get them initially started. So I decided to do that. You saw the jeweler saw that I pulled out to cut some quick stuff, and that line I just put in there is going to be the belly of the bird. I also went over the bandsaw. If you remember, this thing was kind of a 3/4, had a little angle in the back. It wasn't flat. I went and sawed that so it would be flat, because this is obviously going to have to hang on the wall. That's my DeWalt with probably a 36 grit, 24 grit. Don't do this. Don't try this at home. I know I always say that. Be really careful if you decide to do this, and certainly have some experience with them. Don't make this the first thing you pick up. I've been doing this for years. I do it with auto body, the same thing with auto body and metal. But I'm used to how this thing grabs, and it will grab, and it will bite your hand. So I don't recommend this, and I probably shouldn't show it, but in fairness, a lot of you would be wondering, if I didn't show this, you'd be wondering how the heck did he get those parts in there. You'll also notice that what I'm doing is I've got it against the stump there. I am hanging on to it, but if it were to get to bind, it would actually throw the piece of wood out away from me. Of course, that means the grinder would try to go into my hand. So I'm just trying to get a rough set in here to where I want the feather flare to go. And now right there you see I'm cutting down because I wanted the right side of that body to stick out a little bit and to be slightly undercut. So he's really thick. You know, I'm still not convinced this isn't a complete waste of good wood, but we'll live with it. So you'll notice there that it came out really close to the scribblings that I did, and I would have delineated those feathers kind of going out, but coming back with a marker and putting in the flow lines. I'm going to put a tail in there, so there's a wing and a tail, and some of this stuff broke off. It's had a crack, but it broke towards the bottom. But that's kind of the idea that I'm going to go for. And I don't really finish this, so I've got again a saber big cone in there, and now I'm just going to flare everything away from the body of the bird. When we get to the end of this, you'll notice that I didn't finish cutting these feathers. On a spirit man, it would be the beard, and I fully intended to, but I didn't get that done before I headed back down to Iowa, and I will finish this up and make it into a finished product, because I'm actually kind of liking it. My wife actually even liked it. She said that was a good idea, so that's a plus. Going from Jordy saying, "Hey Ben, would you please?" He said please. Actually, Jordy said please in there. "Would you please do a spirit bird?" So again, I said my initial thoughts were, when I read it, I was like, "Oh man, I can't do that. I have no idea where to go with that." And then the more I thought about it, I thought, well, there's a couple different places you could go with it. Now I'm even thinking that it might be kind of fun to do a like an eagle partially in the upper part of a piece of bark, and then the old man, and not finish it, kind of a silhouette deal, and then do an old man spirit in the bottom, so you have the two of those together. But there's a lot of different places you can go with this, and like I said, Jordy, Rob, Calvin, Mark the Maker, you guys need to do a couple of these and see where they go. I don't know if anybody will be able to sell them, but if they turn out as good as Jordy's spirit fish did, certainly be able to sell them. Jordy went and pulled that thing off, and I love his spirit fish. Mine, I think's in the box in the corner over there, and I like Rob's also. But once again, Jordy started it, so we'll see what we can do with this. Gives you something to do other than if you're continuing to carve your own stuff. It's nice when someone suggests something else. Did you see that? That was a piece that another piece there just broke off. That's where the cracks are in, and Jordy has shown you before that you sand down through those cracks, and I just ignored them because I didn't care. And you can kind of see the crack or discoloration on the left side there. So we're getting about the point where I kind of gave up on this guy, and I'm going to round the body out and a little bit more and do a little work on that. But here was the original intent. So there's a beautiful Jordy face on the back of a gorgeous piece of cottonwood bark, and I was going to put it on the front there and then flare it all out in different directions. I may still do that, but I don't know. And now if you notice right above my hand there, I went ahead and put two little knobby knees in there, and I'm going to smooth that body over. So the body flares from the left side, is coming out of the wood, and then it's undercut on the right portion, and you'll see me do a little bit more of that in there. And I will finish this guy because I like him well enough to finish it up and make it a finished product and see how it turns out. As you can see, I'm still kind of undercutting. And that is the ruby bit because I'm trying to get a smooth on the body so when I stain it, the body, and then I will do a little bit of burning and a bunch of feathers on the outer portion of that. So that's how it's done. There's the Spirit Bird Challenge, a little bit of it. I will finish this piece, and I kind of want to do the other one. If nothing else, I'll do a phoenix just for the heck of it. But this was proof of concept, and that's how it's done. So like, comment, and subscribe, and you other knuckleheads get to carving on this. Hey, thanks a lot. This has been Ben with Studio on the Lake.